You know, when we talk about AI, we usually picture this one giant, all-knowing brain. But what if the real game changer isn't a generalist, but a specialist? Today, we're going to look at a type of AI that can see patterns no one else can. And believe me, it's already shaking up entire industries. Let's get into it.
So it all starts with this really important question. Right now, organizations are absolutely swimming in data about their people. But there's this huge category of risk. We're talking about psychosocial risk, things like burnout, bullying, that kind of stuff, that just flies completely under the radar for most standard AI tools. So why is that?
Okay, this slide just nails the problem perfectly. On the left, you've got what a generic AI sees, just a bunch of separate facts. An increase in sick leave over here, a dip in survey scores over there, a new manager starting. To the AI, they're just disconnected dots. But on the right, that's what an expert sees, or what a specialized AI sees. It sees the connections. It recognizes that, hey, these things together could be a risk pattern forming. So the secret sauce isn't just having more data, it's having the smarts to understand the relationship between the data points.
And that leads us right to the first massive hurdle. See, the issue isn't a lack of information. It's really a problem of architecture. Companies have all the puzzle pieces, but they're missing the box top, the system that gives it all meaning.
I mean, just think about it for a second. You've got performance reviews in one system, right? Then you have incident reports in a totally different one. Exit interviews are probably stored in some folder somewhere. And workers' comp claims? That's in a whole other database. Each one of these is a critical piece of the puzzle. But because they're all locked away in their own little boxes, the big picture, the actual risk, stays completely hidden.
So, how in the world do you fix this? How do you teach an AI to see those hidden connections that humans can spot? Well, the answer is in this really powerful concept called an ontology. You can think of it as the AI's master blueprint. An ontology is way more than just a dictionary of terms. It's more like a dynamic map of a very specific world. So yeah, it defines all the key concepts like what a hazard is or a control. But, and this is the crucial part, it maps out all the super complex relationships between them. It's what teaches the AI how something like bullying might be linked to a gap in leadership or how one specific action can lower a specific risk.
And this is just a brilliant way to think about it. An airline has flight IDs, crew schedules, maintenance logs, tons of data. But to actually, run the airline, you need a system that understands that this specific crew is qualified for this specific plane on this specific route. That's what an ontology does. It provides that same deep relational understanding, but for a complex area like workplace risk.
And this shows you just how deep that understanding really goes. It's built up in layers, see? First, the AI has to learn the hazard framework, what things like bullying or burnout actually look like in the real world. Then it learns the specific legal and regulatory rules for that industry. After that, it learns how workplace systems, like performance reviews, can either create risk or reduce it. And finally, it models the complex human dynamics of teams and leaders. It's incredibly thorough.
Now, this whole idea of building deep, specialized knowledge, it isn't just a one-off thing. It's actually part of a much bigger trend that's happening all across tech, the rise of what we call vertical AI.
Think about it. In fields where the stakes are incredibly high, where you absolutely cannot afford to be wrong, professionals have already figured this out. They've moved away from the generalist, do-it-all tools. Instead, they rely on AI that's been purpose-built with deep, specialized knowledge for their specific world.
And this slide just makes that pattern crystal clear. Lawyers aren't asking a generic chatbot for legal advice. They're using Harvey because it actually understands case law and legal precedent. Doctors are using specialized tools like DeepScribe that know complex medical terminology. Chief Information Security Officers use Vanta, which has the entire compliance framework mapped out. And for HR and safety leaders, that tool is Gentia. The pattern is it's undeniable.
So what really sets these tools apart? Well, it all boils down to a few key things. They all start with that deep domain ontology we've been talking about. They're trained on super specific, clean data, not just the random mess of the internet. Their whole architecture is custom built for how a professional actually works. And all of that adds up to the single most important thing, trust. Trust that is built on expertise you can actually verify. So what does this actually feel like to use in the real world? The best way I've heard it described is through this idea called the expert intern model. It's a really clever way to make the power of this tech instantly click.
Okay, imagine having a whole team of interns on call, 24/7. But here's the thing, these aren't your average interns. Each one is a world-class expert in one tiny specific piece of your job. And they've been trained by the absolute best in the field.
So on your team, you've got the investigator, who knows exactly the right questions to ask to get to the bottom of an issue. You've got the librarian, who has literally memorized every single regulation. Then there's the strategist, who can instantly recommend solutions that are backed by solid evidence. And finally, the scribe, who documents every single action perfectly in a way that would make any regulator happy. They all work together like a coordinated team to basically multiply your own expertise.
This all brings us to probably the most important question of all. Why is this specialized approach so incredibly critical right now? The short answer is, the world has fundamentally changed, and the stakes are just higher than they've ever been.
For years and years, managing things like workplace stress was seen as, a nice-to-have part of a wellness program. Well, that era is completely over. Regulators are now demanding that psychological hazards be managed with the exact same rigor as physical hazards. It's not optional anymore. It's a legal requirement, with really serious consequences if you fail. And you can literally see that pressure cooker illustrated right here on this chart. Regulatory scrutiny is going up, the modern workplace is getting way more complex, and the liability risk for getting this stuff wrong is just skyrocketing. The old ways of trying to manage this, they just aren't going to cut it anymore. And really, this all leads to one crucial takeaway. When the consequences of getting something wrong are severe, whether you're talking about law or medicine or employee safety, you simply cannot afford to rely on a generalist tool. You need an AI you can truly trust, and that trust only comes from deep, proven, domain-specific specialization. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. As AI becomes a part of everything we do, maybe the ultimate advantage isn't just having access to a fire hose of information. Maybe it's having access to an AI that has the deepest, most structured understanding of a complex world. Is that the real superpower of the future?